Welcome back. You've hopefully just watched the video on invention or have already watched the video on invention where we talked about how we don't want to start with a form, we want to start with an idea. We don't want to start with a box and put our thought into it or fit our thought to it. We want to start with a concept, an invention, something that you create that you think is worth reading, that's intriguing for you and for me and for your reader. And then you want to build a box around it. You should be thinking, okay, I've got all these random thoughts. I've got something cool I think I may have found in my mind map, but I have no idea how I'm going to put that into an essay. That's where we come to what Kreider's going to call the organization of your essay. Whereas before you would just say, okay, I'm going to have an intro, I'll have 3 main points, how am I going to prove whatever I've decided, and then I'm going to have a conclusion. Kreider says, no, that's not how it's going to go. He's going to lay out a 6-section approach to the essay. And I can't be more, I'm going to try to be as clear as I can with this. You don't need all 6. You need to decide whether all 6 have in some ways made their way into your essay. You don't have to go in order. You don't need to start with number 1 and then move your way all the way down to 6. You legitimately need to say, is what's important about each one of these sections represented in my essay? For instance, we're going to talk about an outline of proofs. Have you somehow told your reader about what your argument is going to be? It doesn't need to be here. It could be somewhere later. All 6 of the sections need to be present. They just don't need to be in that order. An example that I've often found helpful here, or an analogy I've found helpful, is that of a magician. When we think about the 6 sections of the essay, I think we can compare the essay quite naturally to a beautifully done magic trick. A magician will often come onto the stage and prepare a trick. Now, if the magician just walked onto the stage and all of a sudden released doves, he'd miss a bunch of people. People wouldn't be watching. If it was his best trick, they would be completely unprepared for it. That's something you do if you want to kind of bring the audience in, if you want to hook them in. You release doves, but it's not your major trick. When it comes to your grand finale, what you're going to do is you're going to introduce the audience first to the apparatus or to what it is that you're going to be doing. That's what we're going to see in the intro. And we're going to try to follow both with the essay and with this analogy of a magician as we go. But first we want to look at these 2 terms. First the thesis and then the argument. You've got a bunch of random thoughts and hopefully kind of a thread that's tying together one thought that will become your paper. I want you to pull out your handout that I've given to you on the ISP because I'm going to be reading some of the definitions that we have in there, and I'd like you to be following through with the 6 sections as well. For the thesis. In your handout it says, your thesis is a 1-sentence statement, one which must be either true or false, which expresses the truth your reader must be persuaded of if your essay is successful. It's not an impression, it's not a question, it's a statement. That's the first and most important thing. Your thesis is a statement. It can't be a question, it can't be an impression. It has to be 1 sentence that is true or false. It doesn't need to include your proofs, that you may be used to that. It doesn't need to include the different reasons for why your thesis is true. It just literally needs to be a statement. For instance, we talked about a dog for rock. An example of just a thesis statement without proofs would be something like, the author of A Dog for Rock is suggesting that humanity is better off in pain and with friends than they are alone. I haven't proved that yet. I haven't suggested why that's true. I've just legitimately made a statement. Now that is going to be either true or false. How you go about proving that statement is your argument. But we want to separate these 2 words because they're going to show up most likely in different places. Thesis, 1 statement, true or false. If your essay is successful Your reader believes you, has decided that your thesis is true. The way that you're going to pull the reader into convincing them, the way you're going to persuade them of your thesis, is your argument. The argument, I'm going to have a different video that shows a bunch of different argument styles or logical proofs. For now, the definition you have in the first paragraph of your handout is probably enough. Your thesis must be a statement which is true or false. Your argument, however, is how you will persuade the reader of its truth. Constructing this argument will form the backbone of your final essay. You don't want to look for 3 points here. And you don't necessarily just want to look for 4 or decide I'm going to go for 2. You want to find the argument that best persuades the reader that your thesis is true. You want to find the argument that will best persuade your reader that your thesis is true. If I'm trying to persuade my reader that the author of A Dog for Rock is suggesting that humanity is better off with friends, even if that means that they're in pain, I may have a 3-pronged proof. That's possible. We're not saying that three proofs is somehow wrong. It just isn't the only way. I may have 2 main points, and I may have different ways of proving each one. Maybe I have 4 main points, and the first 2 are more connected than the next 2. There are literally an unlimited amount of ways for you to convince your reader that your thesis is true. Whatever kind of form you come up with, whatever kind of system to connect your proofs that you construct becomes your argument. And your argument will prove your thesis, and when your reader believes your thesis, your paper is successful. Well, the way Kreider says we're going to do this is we're going to have 6 different sections. We're going to start with an intro. The intro is just going to, quoting right from your handout, the introduction the reader will hear your focus and most likely your thesis statement, though not your argument as a whole. Often your thesis statement has come right at the end of the intro. This seems like a pretty good place for it. You want to let the reader know what you're going to be trying to prove almost as soon as possible. So it seems to make sense that you'd give them your thesis right there. But if you feel like your argument is stronger, putting your thesis in a different spot, go ahead and do that. Not much more to write here, as we will consider introductions more clearly in the discussion of style. That's the intro.